Who are the best and who are the worst NFL teams? It's Mike Gill's Fine Five and Ugly Five on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
That's right. These are the 5 best and 5 worst NFL teams. This was hard this week. The 5 best and the 5 worst. They're brought to you by JC Motorsports, your truck accessory warehouse with the largest showroom in South Jersey. JC's got it. All right, these are the 5 best and the 5 worst teams in the NFL. We'll start with this week's Ugly 5. These are the 5 worst teams in the NFL. Starting out with number 5, the Tennessee Titans. Yes, I know they won. The Ugly 5 was tough this week. I still think they're one of the 5 worst teams in football. So I'm going Tennessee as number 5 in my Ugly 5.
Mike, I have a new entrant at number 5 today, and that is the Buffalo Bills. That team is in the category of dysfunctional. It's them, it's the Browns, it's the Rams. These franchises, their teams aren't just bad, their franchises are bad.
That's fair to say. By the way, I had Tennessee last week. With the win, they fell from 3 in the Ugly 5 down to 5.
Yeah, they're not.
They dropped 2 spots. Number 4 on my list is the Buffalo Bills. They are dysfunctional, and quite frankly, they're not very good. You know, they were a 500 team last year. Some people thought they took a step forward. I'll never understand, you know, when you go into a season with a quarterback that has so many inconsistencies and such an unknown, how you could think that's better than you could start at 500. But don't think that this is a 10, 11-win team when your quarterback has so many problems. So Buffalo into the Ugly 5 for the first time this year, coming in at number 4.
My number 4 is the 49ers. Yes, I know they won the first week of the season, and I know they were semi-competitive for a quarter and a half against the Panthers, but I still do not like this roster. This roster is still thin. It is still not a deep roster, and I think at some point everything will implode.
I got no problem with 49ers. I have them at number 3, up from 5 last week. They went from 5 up to 3. I think the Chip Kelly effect is going to catch up to this team, especially a team that doesn't have a lot of talent to begin with. They don't have a lot of talent on that roster, coupled with his coaching style. Just a recipe for a bad season in San Francisco. So they're up 2 spots in this week's Ugly 5, checking in at number 3.
My number 3 has actually been number 3 since before the season, the Chicago Bears. They are consistent, if nothing else. They are consistently bad.
They are bad because I have them at number 2, and we've got a good chance to see them. And I think that team's only going to continue to get worse. Decimated by injuries on Monday Night Football, a weak defense to begin with, and now Jay Cutler, like him or not, is out for probably an extended period of time. They're going with Brian Hoyer, a journeyman. The Bears were number 4 last week in my Ugly 5. They jumped up 2 spots to number 2.
My number 2 team is the Rams. Do not take the fool's gold of the win on Sunday. That is fool's gold. They're trying to sell you swampland, okay? Here's how this works with the Rams. Every bad team wins 2 or 3 games, right? They still get the number 1 overall pick. This is one of their 2 or 3 games they win. Good for them. They can enjoy it. Jeff Fisher came into the season saying, I don't want a 7-9 team. Jeff, you got a 3-13 team.
I had the Rams at number 2 last week. I don't have them in this week. If you beat Seattle, you don't make the Ugly 5. I know it was an ugly win, but I'll say this about the Rams. They have a better defense than the Bears, the 49ers, the Bills, and the Titans. They are better defensively than every team in the Ugly 5. If they played those 4 teams, they would probably beat them because their defense is that good. And that's why they are out of this week's Ugly 5, but Cleveland is still locked in to the top spot in the Ugly 5.
They are the consensus ugly duckling of the bunch.
All right, that's our Ugly 5 this week. Over to the Fine 5s. These are the 5 best teams in the NFL. Another hard one. This is a tough one to do, Josh. At number 5, checking in for me. I don't know if they're going to stick here, but for 2 weeks, I like what I've seen from Minnesota's defense. Stephon Diggs is jumped onto the scene. They are plus 12, and they lead the North. They just beat the Packers on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football. I'm going Minnesota, number 5 in the Fine Five.
I did drop the Packers from my 5, but I did not put the Vikings in their place. I actually put the Giants in their place because I am impressed that for 2 straight weeks, the Giants have a defense. And every time they've had a defense, Mike, they've made a playoff run. So to me, if they can keep playing like they are definitely a top 5 team in the NFL.
Number 4, I dropped them from 2 to 4, and they won, but they were kind of playing around with San Francisco. Carolina, you know, if you've listened to the Fine Five, Ugly Five over the last couple of years, I've always been higher on Carolina than most. I still like Carolina a lot, but I like a couple more teams more than I like Carolina now. So they moved from 2 down to 4, but still one of the best 5 teams in the league.
Yeah, they go down to 4 for me as well. I'm just unenthused with their defense, which is supposed to be their strong point. Obviously, they can play offense. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin is putting up crazy numbers the first 2 weeks, but that secondary makes me a little nervous, Mike.
As it should. All right, number 3 for me. They stuck there from last week. They haven't moved. They beat Tampa 40-7 this week. There were some questions after losing at home on Thursday night to open the year to New England, but Arizona answered those questions, and they did it empathetically. They just put their foot down and said, yo, we are not to be messed with. Arizona's number 3.
Cardinals are my number 3 as well. You saw the defense come to play. You saw the offense do their job. And if that team can stay healthy, you're looking at a Super Bowl team right there.
I agree. Number 2 for me this week. They were 5 last week. They jumped up to 2. You're going to see them in Philly this week. That Pittsburgh team, I like the change. Their offensive line is now somewhat stable. That's been a big problem for them over the years, and they're better defensively than they've been the last couple of years, specifically in that secondary. They're a plus 30 on the season. They scored 62 points, which is, I believe, 3rd or 4th in the league right now. Pittsburgh is number 2, up from 5 in the Fine Five.
They are my number 2 as well. Listen, we know the offense is there, but Ryan Shazier is really coming out this year. You're seeing him flying all over the field. It's like he's finally got a full 100% grasp on that offense, knows where to be, when to be, how to be, and it seems like the whole defense around him is thriving off of that energy and knowledge. So I got them at 2.
Number 1, it's the Patriots.
Obviously.
Edelman could play quarterback this week, and I still think people would be surprised if they lost, even though they're playing a very good Houston team. By the way, Houston's only given up 26 points all season long, but the Patriots have scored 54 with Jimmy Garoppolo playing most of the snaps for them. It will be Jacoby Brissett this week.
Brissett.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about the sandwich.
Think about food.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, you're making me hungry.
Come on, it's brisket, man.
I have the Patriots number 1 as well because that's just a complete team. I mean, it's the running game. It's the guys playing the offensive line. It's the defense. It's the plug and play. It's one of the top 5 kickers in the NFL. It's the special teams. Is there anything this team can't do? Yeah, they may lose on Thursday night, but you know what? This is still, if not the best, one of the best teams in the NFL, but they're my number 1.
Brisket sounds a lot better. All right, that's our Fine Five and our Ugly Five here on the Sports Bet. I really wish we could see Houston and New England at full strength. I mean, realistically, Houston's got one of the best defenses in the league.
If this game was like week 8, I think I'd be a little bit more excited.
Sure. I mean, and it's a Thursday nighter, too, to be on the primetime stage. It's rare that you would see a New England get stuck on a Thursday night.
Yeah, well, I don't think the NFL schedule makers expected Tom Brady to have that game suspended.
Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. That's the Fine Five and the Ugly Five.